For this use case, we will be targeting the topic discovering recruitment process using ARIS Process Mining. And we have leveraged the ARIS Software AG ecosystem in such a way that we are using two environments, ARIS Process Mining and ARIS Connect at the same time. So let's get started with today's agenda. So we'll get started with the problem description and process overview. And then we will see how exactly we have used the entire solution architecture when it comes to the solutioning part, and what was our implementation approach when it comes to process mining solutioning. And at the end, we will be looking at the KPIs and dimension, how exactly we went through it, and what were the selection criteria for the same when it comes to process mining projects. And at the end, we'll be giving you a solution at a glance view where you will be able to connect how exactly a process mining project's journey starts and what are the steps or a pit stop you need to cover when you are going through a process mining project. So let's start with the problem description. So she's Kesha and she's working in a large IT corporation, and she is the head of human resource. And as you all are aware that right now there is a boom in the digital transformation space. So there is a lot of hiring going on. And recently her CEO has announced that they will be hiring 300 plus professional in coming quarter. So there is a significantly load on the hiring and recruitment team. And it has been observed over the past that they were not able to meet the industry benchmark when it comes to the recruitment timing. So they have been facing this problem over the past, but right now the situation is like that. They have very stringent timelines, and having an effective process and meeting the industry benchmark will give them will provide them a competitive edge. So looking at this scenario, how exactly it impacts the business is that they are not able to fulfill the billable requirement as they are IT service. They need to provide the resource. Is a kind of a main business for them. So it ultimately leads to the loss of revenue when they are not able to meet the demand and supply requirement. So in order to tackle this kind of problem, they meet a process consultant and he examines the overall scenario and problem at the Kesha's organization and how exactly he can come up with a very good process-oriented solution, which is backed by real-time data. So he understands the scenario and he recommends that the ARIS process mining can be one of the very good tool which they can leverage in such kind of scenario where they will be leveraging the data logs available in their ecosystem. With the help of those data logs, they will be able to visualize the end-to-end scenario and whatever the KPIs they want to monitor, that will be very relevant to the process instead of keeping it very static. So this is how they came up with the solutioning part. So in Kesha's organization, they are using SAP SuccessFactors as a source system, and it takes care of hiring of any new particular candidate as per the demand. So SAP SuccessFactors, to give you a brief background, is a talent acquisition module in SAP, and which helps organization to source, engage, and hire the world's best talent. So as you can see, it starts with a cycle of job requisition created as per the demand within the organization, and followed by the candidate profile, shortlisting, interview, and at the end we have covered till offers, but it has separate modules or different modules like onboarding also. So what made us to come with a vanilla version of reusable asset of H2R process mining solution is a core interaction with our SAP SuccessFactors team, which identifies certain field which will remain intact across different organizations, irrespective of changes or variation made within their SAP SuccessFactors modules. So we identify certain fields, so it can be a plug and play solution for everyone using this kind of solution. So after identifying this solution, we came up with a solution architect diagram. So I would like Varun to continue with this.
Yep, thank you, Bhavik. Yep. So as you can see in this image, this is high level architecture diagram of our solution. So what we are doing is we are extracting data from SAP SuccessFactors recruitment module using advanced reporting tool. So data extracted is in CSV format, and we upload the raw data into ARIS Process Mining. And where the transformation of the data occurs, we are utilizing the inbuilt capability of ARIS Process Mining to do the transformation. Along with that, we have connected ARIS Connect with ARIS Process Mining, where we can utilize the already available process models in the repository of ARIS Connect to do conformance analysis by comparing the ideal process with the process that will be discovered by ARIS Process Mining. Once the data model is in place, we can create the KPIs and then utilize those KPIs to create visualizations in a dashboard that can be utilized by the business team to do process analysis and improve their processes. So the approach that we used was as shown in the figure. So what we did was we began by understanding the process, being used by the recruitment team using SAP SuccessFactors recruitment module. So we identified various activities or events occurring within the process so that we can, look into the database to identify how we can define those activities. Along with that, we define KPIs that can be utilized by the business user to reduce the overall lead time, as that is the objective that we want to achieve. So the KPIs defined were, identified by a discussion with the SAP SuccessFactors team, the recruitment team, and also by referring to various like APQC. The KPIs that were defined were based on two main criteria. So what we did was we identified KPIs that were relevant to our use cases and also that were feasible, that can be calculated from the data that is available from SAP SuccessFactors. Once the KPIs were defined, I tried to identify the data points that can help us define various activities occurring within the process and create the event log that is required by the process mining engine to discover the process. Once this data were identified, we extracted those data and then we began with data mapping. What we did in data mapping is for each activity, we identify the case ID, the activity name, and the timestamp to create the activity table. These are the three fields that are important for process mining. For process mining to create or discover the process from the available data set. Once the mapping was completed, we transformed the data using the inbuilt capability of ARIS Process Mining and then model the data that was available and created a data model that can be utilized by the visualization and dashboarding part of the solution, so that business user can analyze their processes using those dashboards. So for KPI identification, what we did was based on our goal that was to reduce the overall lead time. We divided our KPIs into three major categories. The first category is count. Now the count will help the team to understand the volume of work, the workload occurring, on the recruitment team, the amount of candidates that are there at various stages of the process, and this will help them to identify how many candidates should be there. Ideally, how many candidates should be there at each stage of the process, and identify how they can reduce those numbers at various stages of the process. The second category is lead time. Now the lead time will help the team to understand how much of the time has been taken by the team to recruit a candidate. Along with that, what we have done is we have segregated the overall process into various stages and calculated lead time of each of those stages, so that business user then can look into the performance of each of these stages and identify which stage is lagging behind in the overall process and then try to improve those stages. The third category is the conformance analysis. Now the conformance analysis is very unique to ARIS Process Mining and it helps to identify process deviation. So what we can do here is we can compare the ideal process with the process that has been discovered by ARIS Process Mining and then look at the deviations occurring within the process which are actually leading to poor performance of the process. Along with that, we can identify inefficiencies like rework, activities that are being repeated again and again, activities that are skipped which shouldn't be, which will help the team to identify process inefficiencies. Now, as you can see, these are the activity and enhancement table mapping that we have done. So for process mining to perform process mining, we need the activity table. Now, activity table has three important fields, that is the case key, the activity name, and the event time. Using these three information, the process mining tool can discover a process based on the data that has been provided. So here what we have done is we have selected job requisition ID and candidate ID, a combination of both as our case key, because we wanted to drill down to the level of candidate and understand how each candidate is flowing through our system, so that we can identify how much time the recruiter has been spending on each candidate for each job requisition and where they can save time. The next thing is what we did was we identified various dimensions appearing within the database, so that a team can perform benchmarking with various along with various business units. They can benchmark the performance of various attributes or entities within the business and try to identify which entity is performing better, so that the other entities can follow the process they are being following and improve their process. So what we have done is we have identified two reports, that is the recruitment report and job posting report, that will be used to create the overall recruitment process. So the recruitment report tells us the information about when the job requisition created and when it was approved and various status of the candidate. And the job posting will tell us information like when a particular job posting was posted to a particular portal and when it was removed. Yep. So what I will do is now I will move to the actual part of our solution, that is the demo of our solution. So the data that we have used is from a vanilla SAP SuccessFactors implementation, but the data that has been utilized is a test data. So the process that you might be looking at here might not actually reveal a real-time scenario. So the values and the figures of the KPIs that you are looking might not be realistic. So once the data has been fed into ARIS Process Mining, the activity table has been fed into ARIS Process Mining, the process mining engine will utilize those data and discover a process for you. And this is the first view that you can get, that is the Process Explorer. So what Process Explorer does is it provides you a view of the process that has been identified. As you can see here, these are the number of cases or number of candidates that are there in the system right now, that have been extracted from our solution. So this is represents the volume of candidates within our system. So what ARIS Process Mining right now will show you is the process that has been followed by these 159 candidates. Now in this Process Explorer, what you can do is you can increase the complexity or the number of activities occurring within the process. And if we increase it to 100 and increase the number of connection to 100, we can see the complex graph. And business users might have thought that their process is quite simple, but in actual, this is a standard spaghetti diagram that is identified in a business real-time scenario. So the process has been executed in much more complex way than business would have thought. So there is another view that you can utilize, a business user can utilize to analyze their process, is the variant explorer view. Here what the engine or the tool will do is it will club the variant that are occurring in a similar ways, the most common variant occurring in the process, and club them together. Now the business user can identify which particular variant is important to them and which particular variant is not. They can also look at the variant and check the throughput time of each variant and see now which variant is actually not performing as expected. Along with that, they can identify variants which are not necessary and they can remove those variants from the process itself. So this is the inbuilt capability of ARIS Process Mining tool. Now let us see some of the dashboards that we have created and certain KPIs that we have created. As you can see here, this dashboard will provide the overall performance of the process. So what we have done is we identified certain KPIs. The first one is the number of candidates. I explained it is the number of candidate that has been processed within the system. The second is case duration. This particular case duration showcases us that for each case, at whatever point of the process the candidate is, what is the average duration of all the 159 candidates. Right now it is 67 days. Then there is process fitness. So based on process conformance analysis, ARIS Process Mining provides an interesting KPI, that is process fitness, which tells us the number of matching activities present in the discovered process when compared to the ideal process that was modeled in ARIS process ARIS Connect. Time to hire is a KPI which we define and tells us time from a new application, a candidate application, to time the candidate has been hired. Right now it is 59 days. Then there is process conformance. As of now, what we are looking at is that only 7% of the process is compliant with the ideal process that we had mapped in ARIS Connect, but this number will change when we have realistic numbers. Then there is a segregation between internal and external candidate. Business user can filter them out by clicking here. As we know, the process followed by internal candidate and for an external candidate might be different. So business user can filter out the data and do their analysis with respect to the candidate type. Now the three graphs that that you can see here is for the dimensions, 3 dimensions that we have identified from the available data. Now the dimensions can increase for each based on the business based on the configuration of each business. So based on our client, we can increase or decrease the number of dimensions present in the process. Right now we have selected 3 because these 3 were available from the data that we had. The first one is recruiter. So here the business user can look at the performance of the KPIs that we have represented in the dashboard, and compare the performance of each recruiter. Similarly, they can look at the performance of each job role. Now, which job role is taking more time to hire, which job role is taking less time to hire, and how they can reduce this time. And the third one is the performance based on each month, on which month our team is performing well and which month we are not performing. Is it due to because there were many holidays occurring within a particular month that the performance of the overall process suffered? Analysis like this can be done with help of this particular graph. Now what we have done is, as we said, that we had segregated the overall process into different stages. So what we did was we divided the process into 4 stages. That was job requisition creation to job requisition approval. After job has been posted to the application lead time, application to offer extended lead time, and offer extended to offer accepted. So we have differentiated the whole process into 4 different stages. Now the team can do their analysis for each stage and understand like in which particular stage for which particular job role or a recruiter is lagging in their performance, and then they can identify how they can improve the lead time or the overall performance of the process for that particular stage. As you can see now, here we can see the recruiter 4 has huge amount of numbers of candidates, and the lead time for application to offer extended is high for this particular recruiter. Now the team can either contact the recruiter and understand why it is taking more time for that particular recruiter, what is the issue he or she is facing, and then try to improve the performance of that particular recruiter. So conformance analysis is another analysis. This is another analysis that is out of box provided from ARIS Process Mining. So what the user can do is as they can see here, they can see the number of conforming and non-conforming cases, the conformance rate per month, the conformance per month, again ongoing cases, and the process witness value and the process witness value performance for each month. But the most important thing here is the root cause analysis. Now the team can look at the issues or non-conforming issues occurring within the process. As we can see, hireable must not be an end activity. So there are 43 cases where hireable is the last activity, but as per our ideal process, it is not. So business user can select here and then look into the cases and do their analysis utilizing the dashboards that has been created, and which particular recruiter has high number of these cases, what is the impact of this non-conformance issue on the overall lead time of the process. Similar activities can be done for each of the issues, non-conforming issues by the business user, and then they can remove that non-conforming issue by training or by re-engineering the process. There is another view that we created where you can analyze the overall recruitment process for a recruitment manager. If the recruitment manager wants to view how the overall recruitment process is performing, he can see here is that the total number of candidates are 159. Of them, 97 of them were interviewed one time, 86 of them were interviewed twice, and only 26 of them were hired. So they can do their analysis on why this is happening and why we are only able to hire only 26 people. Now similar recruiter based benchmarking has been done at this particular graph, where we are looking at number of higher percentage for each recruiter and the number of cases they have hired. Along with that, there is application status. Now what the business user can do is they can see how many of the cases were closed and how many of them are still in progress, and then see at which stage of the process each particular candidate is on this particular graph. That is the current status of the candidate. The next is a process overview part that is provided again out of box report for the business user. Here they get certain ready to use metric like throughput time, the activities occurring per case, the activities that were started per day, and the number of cases starting per day. This number will change as we get real data, more data into the system. This again we can see the number of cases per month that are ongoing. And as you can see the throughput time, the distribution of the throughput time, as we can see for 57% of the cases are being completed within 3.5 weeks, and rest of them are taking more time, and the team then can do their analysis on which particular case is taking more time, why is it taking more time, and then again go to the various dashboards and do their analysis. So all in all, the dashboard has been created in such a way that the team can utilize these dashboards to understand or perform root cause analysis on why the lead time has is increased and how we can reduce those lead time. Along with that, we can add more KPIs as and when required by the business user and the client as per their requirement to this dashboard. So that's it from my side. I think this is what we wanted to show you as part of this particular presentation or demo. Now I will move on to the presentation part where Bhavil will end the presentation.
So just to give you a quick glance what we have discussed till now. So we started our process mining journey with identifying the data points as per the source system which we are using. And so it plays a vital role in order to create our next pit stopper pillar, that was creation of template. So we wanted this to be a reusable asset. So it is created in such a way that any user or any organization wanted to use this particular solution, they can directly plug and play and start using it with very little or few changes. And it gives to discovery of ARIS process, which is a stepping stone. When we talk about process mining project, we need to understand how exactly our process is performing in real time as per the expectation or how deviating it is from the ideal process scenario. And we came up with the process relevant KPIs with the reference of APQCs or talking with the people who are executing this kind of process. And on the basis of those interview, we designed dashboard from the persona point of view, from a recruiter point of view. So we identified different personas. And lastly, leveraging the ecosystem of Software AG, which is very important. So if you already have a repository built in ARIS Connect, you can absolutely leverage those repository and directly compare your to-be model, which is already present in ARIS Connect with new offerings of ARIS Process Mining. So moving to the next slide. Yeah, I hope you all remember Keisha. So she looks pretty happy right now because the kind of process X-ray they have in front of them is really fruitful. And right now they are able to see end-to-end journey of recruitment and those dashboards and specific KPIs which are relevant to their process, which they can ultimately improve through this engagement. And whatever they are analyzing, it's not a gut feeling. It is coming from the system data directly. So it's not a gut feeling, it's a fact base, and it will ultimately reduce to waste and reworks whatever they can analyze from this particular engagement. And based on fact based and data driven improvement opportunities. It will ultimately help in reducing the recruitment time which is the pain point for this particular organization as an IT organization. And apart from reducing recruitment time, another important aspect which we always keep in our mind, that is the improving the experience of candidate and hiring managers.